Hi everyone, thanks for coming for the last session of the afternoon of Momentum. We have a great audience here, and it's a pleasure to receive Lukas and Sam from Deloitte. Thanks for being here. It's so great to have you, and look forward to show to everyone what you've done with the technology and how you leverage it for corporate content creation. First of all, I think it will be interesting for everyone to know what you do at Deloitte, and we know that both of your profile are really complementary, actually, and it's a good way to explain as well how both parts of Deloitte complement each other. Do you want to start with that, Lukas?
Yeah, I'll start. So I'm with the Deloitte Media Solutions team. And so we design media systems, could be 2110 networks or enterprise networks, video control, production control rooms, studios, that sort of things. But I focus on the technical side of that, the network and the design of that. So.
And I'm part of Deloitte Digital, so I'm a studio lead in our content production studio. So I get to lead and enable creative teams that make all sorts of content and media.
Great. So it's really complementary. I mean, you both use each other and use each other's expertise, right? And so if we think about there's kind of a journey for corporates to starting using this technology, to start to use virtual production, because it's not from one day to another that they started using it. We were discussing earlier, and it's really kind of during the COVID that things started to change, because of course you needed much more communication, both internally and externally as well. And I think people got a bit bored of only having Zoom calls or team calls, and they wanted something a bit more exciting. And suddenly you start bringing kind of the way broadcasts work to make it exciting for the viewer, to keep the attention, but to a corporate world, right? That's kind of what you're achieving at Deloitte.
Yeah, so we have this thesis statement that essentially every company is a media company, every company is a content company, whether they know it or not. And what's really driving that is that the expectation for quality, frequency, and volume of content is greater than it's ever been. And a big part of that, as you mentioned, is coming out of the COVID pandemic, looking for ways to drive engagement in the corporate and enterprise setting that's goes beyond your typical virtual meeting or something like that, because whether it's your workforce or your customers or your consumers, they're all, that level of expectation is now into like what we call like the consumer grade. Your workforce expects the same type and quality of content that they get from their streaming services or from television, from their enterprise, from their company.
Exactly, and also means that they need to experiment it before. It's if you think about it, I mean, if we do the parallel with films as well, using new technology like virtual production, you don't learn how to use this technology on the day of the shoot. You do a lot of pre-production, right? And it feels that it's the same thing for corporates who will have a presentation with a big audience, or that will be a presentation that's for external or internal. You need to experiment it before, and I think that's the purpose of the studio you built in Chicago, right? For them to understand virtual production and for you to also show them what they can achieve with it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's correct. And there's a lot of ways that they can use it. It could be for just internal corporate videos that just need to have more quality. They want to bring a higher level of production, if it's training video or something, or it could be for external commercial promotional material that they're going to share widely or pay to place. So there's so many ways that you could use that virtual production stage within the context of a company to do all sorts of things.
Yeah, and to build on that a little bit, so as you mentioned, so Sunshine Studio is our production facility that we built. Well, Lukas built. I got to make the list of all the things I wanted it to be able to do, and Lukas had to make that a reality in downtown Chicago in our office building there. And what that does is it does a couple things for us. It's this next gen cutting edge content creation space that we leverage to help our clients make great content. But it's like you said, it's also a proving ground, a demo space where we're able to have conversations with our clients, especially a lot of our enterprise clients looking to make an investment in their content capability to really show them like what the art of the possible is, and what's possible, and what even things like virtual production that on the surface might seem very far away or unattainable, especially for a corporate client, and show that they're within reach and they can be done and they can be operated and run in a corporate environment.
Exactly, and we have some. You shared with us some footage of the kind of the behind the scene of the studio. So that's the space, right, in Chicago. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what's in there?
Yeah. So it starts off as just a blank canvas, a room where we can shoot, all sorts of different things, bring in set pieces. But of course, as you see here, we have a green screen. That's where we unlock the ability to do, and of course, with Mo-Sys, camera tracking, and we're able to create a virtual environment put people into that virtual environment. And really the camera tracking is the key there. Obviously the game engine as well, but when you combine those two together, you get this ability to just transport your talent to anywhere in the world, or any sort of something that doesn't even exist, of course. So we also have a control room. We can also do live productions from here. And so we could do live switching and audio mixing. And then also we can do a key, so we can bring the green screen, a really high quality key to get the most out of the green screen. The next level that we're still deciding how to approach is to move to video wall. And so that would obviously, as you see here, they're all over the show, but that will be our next step into virtual production.
Yeah, to just quickly build on that. So, one of the things that was really important to us as we were thinking about what we wanted the studio to be capable of, is we wanted it to be incredibly modular and, again, like very capable, and have some of these cutting edge, next gen things like virtual production, but also to have a high degree of operability, especially with again, like in a corporate and enterprise environment where you're typically working with smaller crews with maybe lower degrees of specialization in what each person does, and finding ways to have that not be a barrier to being able to unlock, the power of things like virtual production, which are, essential to any sort of content capability moving forward, we think.
And for that, for us, it was really important to also collaborate on that, and to have the team coming as well to show you everything we have developed and that you then can leverage with your customer. It was, for us, it's really great to have this kind of use cases, because we learn suddenly the need for different industry which are not film broadcast. And it's also great to show you what we've developed and see how you will use it. So it's always a great collaboration. And this is a great illustration of. Do you want to tell us a bit more about maybe? I don't know how much you can talk about projects in general, because they may be a bit confidential, but at least some projects that use this technology. If you want to tell us a bit more.
Well, I'll say we have a number of clients that have often large 2110 implementations, but when they bring in the elements of a virtual production there, being able to track multiple cameras, and obviously there's advanced ways to deal with multi-camera shoots. If you're doing live, that can be one of the things that is especially challenging within the context of virtual production, to have a multi-camera. But that's the sort of thing that we focus on is live workflows, because they are kind of the hardest.
I can talk a little bit about a couple use cases that we've implemented already, and some that are in the pipeline, just in like broad strokes. So we've worked with a large client on an internal workforce communications campaign, a years-long campaign where we're helping them to create, again, not just a high volume of content, but really high quality media and content to distribute within their internal workforce, which is quite large. They're a large client. And so what the virtual production stage has enabled us to do is to have high degree of variation in what we're making, so we can make a lot of content in a short period of time, but have a varied look and feel to each piece of content. It doesn't feel like it was all shot in the same room up on the 28th floor of an office building in downtown Chicago. Another project that we have in the pipeline is actually an advertising campaign that we're developing, where one of the needs is a high degree of what we would call like localization. So targeted at audience, a diverse set of audiences all over the country and in some instances all over the world. So using the virtual production stage as a way to, again, create very specialized, localized content that can be used, to target, specific demographics. So,
nice. And that's on this stage is sort of we could say a lab as well. Somehow we can experiment things as well and projects. But also, do you see the trend as your customers suddenly having this type of studios in-house as well and leveraging them for their own content? Is that how you will?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've definitely suggested to not just media clients that's something that they should be considering for themselves, and it's something that we can help design and build. That there are it has gotten a lot simpler, and there's great tools that help to integrate the camera tracking, make the camera tracking something that you can manage, for example. But still managing a game engine, there's some elements that you probably want, that you need some level of expertise, and that's something that Deloitte certainly can bring to the table.
It's great. And that's the same trend we see as well, actually, with the way we develop our technology, because suddenly there is a need to be able to do, or say, all the ways broadcast work, but much more simplified, right? And as a content creator, you need to be able suddenly to have it much easier to use, because suddenly some of them become a one-man band as well, like a one-woman band, because you have to be able to deliver content really quickly, but you don't necessarily have all the team that a broadcast will have, right?
Yeah, and that's what the solution that we've come up with, obviously in partnership with Mo-Sys, is really great, because it lets us demonstrate to our clients that kind of regardless of their level of maturity, where they're at in their content, developing their content supply chain, we can meet them there, bringing, different parts of our business. So Lukas coming from the engineering side, and then me coming from the creative side, being able to meet with essentially any client and assess where they're at and see if it's a scenario where they're looking for more engineering support and looking to actually upgrade or build net new infrastructure, or if they're looking for support actually making the things, and then helping them kind of design not just a solution to that initial problem, but look ahead and see what their content journey and their content lifecycle could look like across multiple years, and what from everything from a storytelling and corporate narrative standpoint, but also infrastructure and hardware investments and things like that.
Yeah, just one more comment on the cost side of it is, obviously one of the barriers to production is going on site, travel, logistics of that can make all that very expensive. And having a virtual production studio, it's not quite as good as having a teleporter, but it's kind of the next best thing. You can take yourself anywhere and really just keep the costs of that production down by not having to bring a whole team of people into the environment that you need to shoot.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things is the moment when you show somebody that maybe doesn't have a complete understanding of what virtual production is or what it can do, and we bring them into the Sunshine Studio space and just turn everything on and demo to them and show that in that aha moment. And seeing even some of our clients who maybe are coming from different parts of the business, or maybe not even working within traditional the marketing department of some of our clients, and coming in and they see it and it makes perfect sense, and they understand the breadth of the capability and what you can do with it. And it's that for me is really fun to be able to see that spark.
And so in the trend of content creation for corporates, how do you see? I'm sure the answer is yes, but how do you see it leveraging virtual production even more in the coming even years, or at least this coming year, because things change so quickly, right? But what do you see the future of it for corporates?
I'll give my quick answer, and
Yes.
Lukas will probably give a better one. But I think for me, the trend is going to be finding ways to make the technology side of it seamlessly integrated into the actual making of things, so that it removes those barriers where creators can focus on making things, but they're not making sacrifices in terms of the technologies that they're able to leverage. So again, finding ways for, like you said, a one man, one woman band to come into a virtual production studio with maybe a couple other crew members and make something that, 5 years ago would have required a massive level of investment for that production. So again, like finding ways to enable creators and limit, or like kind of minimize the amount of barriers to making great things and letting creative people be creative. That's where I think it's headed. And technology like this is essential, is what that's being built on.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, there are refinements that are still needed, like you said, to just make it even more accessible. But I think there's a journey from green screen to LED volume to placing objects in front of people and doing that more advanced keying workflows. That is. It's already there. These tools are available, so it's really just a matter of getting them, people using them, and then they really become useful.
And we look forward to continue this journey together and to collaborate on innovation for content creation. Thank you so much to both of you for coming. It was really a pleasure, and thanks everyone for being here. Thank you.